Okay, so first thing we'll be doing is placing our dart measurements. So the dart placement for this is 9 inches. Nipple to nipple is 9 inches, so I'll place it at 4.5 on the waist. So what I've done here is just the whole body's block. This is the neckline, the armhole, this is the bust line, 2 inches below the armhole. This is the under bust, this is the waist, and this is the length of the blouse. I know with Victorian corsets we can have as many darts as possible. So for this one, I'll be adding 1.5 inches to the front and the back, in total 3 inches, and I'll be cinching the waist, so it has to snatch at the waist region. So waist measurement is 38, but I'll be using 37 for the waist. Let's get started. So as I said earlier, 4.5, nipple to nipple is 9, so 4.5. I'll take it all the way up, 4.5, 4.5, and 4.5. So next thing is I would want to place it at my desired length. So I'll come down from the shoulder by 6 inches. So this is where my starting point is going to be now. I'll just put a line across. So this is my start line, and I'll place this at, I'll place my nipple at 4.5. So now I'll just roll a straight line here. Like so. So next thing I'll be doing now is to place my measurements. So from the bust, on the under bust, I'll take 1 inch on both sides. On the waist, I'll be taking 1 inch on both sides as well. So here, 1 inch on the bust, 1 inch on this side as well. So 1, 1, and then 1 inch, 1 inch here, and I'll come up on the bust line as well by 1 inch. So I'll just connect it. I'll do the same. I'll connect it to the waist as well, 1 inch and 1 inch. Then on the hip line, I would take 1/2 inch on both sides, half, and then I'll just connect it, half. Okay, so I won't be doing anything to the bust line. On the start line right here, I would take 1 inch on both sides for the over bust tightening, or I could decide to take 1.5 on this side because it's believed that our bust towards the side is fuller. So, or I could do 1, 1. Okay, I'll just take 1 inch on both sides, 1 inch, 1 inch, and then I'll connect it to that point. You have, where's your phone so that I can do my calculation with your phone? Okay, so I'll start placing my measurements before I add my other darts. Remember I said for this Victorian corset, I'll be adding 1.5 inches, and then I'll be cinching the waist by 1 inch. So the bust measurement is 42. 42 by 4 is 10.5. That brings us right here. just 2 inches for sewing allowance. 2 inches. Then my under bust is, this is how I'm going to be placing the measurement, just like this. This is 3.5, and then 37 by 4. I'll be using the same thing. 37 by 4 is 9.75. So that brings us here, 9.75. You know, I didn't measure it with this, so I'm not going to be replacing the dots. This is my measurement, but if I'm going to be measuring it with it, I'll just place it like this, then place my 9.75 and then add these dots. But I did not measure it that way. I placed it like this, 3.5, and then from that 3.5 I just brought it here to get my exact measurement. So I'm not replacing the dots because of the way I have taken the measurement. I hope you understand. Then I'll just place the sewing allowance, which is 2 inches. Then the waist is 9.75 as well, because I have cinched to the waist. So that also brings us here. Now the hip measurement is 50. That's 12.5. 12.5. Remember this dots here, so I can do 4 inches. Then I'll place from the 4 inches, I'll place it like this to get my 12.5, and then sewing allowance is 2 inches. That brings me here. Now I'll just connect this. Okay, now that we're done with that, I want this top to be like a sweetheart neckline. So I'll come down here by 1 inch. I'll connect this point to this dot, and I connect this to my armhole. So this is what I mean. I'll connect it to the dot, 1 inch. You choose to place it however you want. You could also do this if you want, and then just connect it to the armhole. So you could also do this if you want, just like this, and then connect it to the armhole. We still have 1.5 inches dot that I said I was going to add to this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide from on the under bust line. I'll divide this side. It's giving me 6.25. I would fold my tape, and that brings me here, this point here. So this is where I'm going to place my other dots, right here. I hope you understand. I divided the under bust line into 2 on the side. Then at this point I'll roll a straight line, and that's where I'm going to place my dots. So just like this, I'll roll a line down, and then remember I have 1.5 inches dots. I'm going to place 1 inch here. 1 inch, that's half. That will give me 1 half, and then half. That gives me 1 inch. So I'll connect it like this. I also placed it on the waist as well. Then I'll connect it like this, and then like this. Connect this dots here, and then to this point. So I can try to put as many dots as possible, as I said earlier, on the Victorian corset. So I've placed 1 here. Remember, it's 1.5 I'm placing on this. So since I've placed 1, remaining half. So that half I'm going to place it here. on my waist right here, half, just like this. Then now I'll connect it to the start line, and then the finish line, just like this. So this is it. Now on this bust, on this under bust and waistline, remember we added 1.5, 1.5. So now I would place it. I didn't want to place it at the beginning so I don't confuse you people. So now the 1.5 that I have added the dots, I'm going to place it back right here. 1.5, 1.5. So now this is, remember I already placed my sewing allowance here. So now this is this line. I'll take it together, connect it to this, and then right here. So this is now our bodies. We're not going to be using this line again. I hope you understand this. So if you want to use the yoke, you can cut it out with this, but now I'm going to cut out these bodies. This is our front pattern. So we are taking out all the dots. Remember, we've replaced them already. So we are taking out all of this. This is our waist dots, under busts, and all of that. This is our added dots on the side, and then this is our original, this is not our line, this is what we are working with. So this is what it looks like. And if you want, remember I already said you can place as many dots as you want. So for this, I don't want mine to be this serious, to be straight this way. So I'll just take out 2 inches on the side, and just like this. I'll take out 2 inches here, and I'll connect it to the center front, just like this. So it has this curved shape. Now I'm going to remember to add my sewing allowance to the lower part as well. So I'll just add 0.5, 0.5, 0.5. So when I'm cutting this out, I'm not going to be adding any more sewing allowance to the fabric because everything is already here. So 0.5. Connect it now. Okay, so we are done with the front pattern. So if you need this yoke, you can as well keep it, but for this tutorial I don't need the yoke. This is what I just added, 0.5. I came here by 2 inches. I came up on the side by 2 inches. That's this one. Then I connected it to the center front. Then I added 0.5 for my sewing allowance. Now we are done with this. I'll just cut it out. So if you've watched to this point and you've not subscribed, please do also subscribe and like, and also drop a comment. So this is what we have now. This is our Victorian corset. I'm going to take it all over again. I've taken out the upper part. I added 1.5 inches for another dart on this pattern. So I placed half. So this is 1, and then the other half I place it at the center front because it has to be snatched. And on the waist, I took out 1 inch from the origin, from the waist allowance, from the waist measurement, which is 38. So this is 37, plus I added sewing allowance to this, and I also added the dart allowance. That's why I didn't cut it out here. So this is my dart allowance, this 1.5. I added it on it, and then I curved it because I didn't want it to be straight. I curved it on the side, and then I added 0.5 for sewing allowance. So this is what it looks like. These parts in red are going to be out. That's why I marked it in red. So now I'm going to go ahead and tag. This is 1, 2, 3. So this is what Victorian corset looks like right here. So now I'm done with the front. Let's move to the back pattern. Here I've already marked out the chest line, the waistline, and the hip line. So I'll place the darts just the way I did the front, 4.5, just like so. Now remember I said I'm taking 1.5 from both the front and the back. You can just take your regular 1/2 inch on both sides, but on this one, this is the waist, this is the chest line, waistline, and then hip line. So on the waistline, corset is all about cinching, so I can, and what part are we going to be cinching is our waist. So on this side, regular dart is 1/2 inch, that's 1 inch, and then I'll also be taking out 1.5 as well. I'll be placing another dart at the back because I already said a Victorian corset can take as many darts as you so desire. So I'll be taking, okay, so let me just take 1/2 inch on this side, half on this side, and then this gives me 1. So I'll connect it to the chest line, and to the hip line. So 1. So I still have half and then 1.5 left to be taken. I'm not going to be adding a zipper allowance because I'm not using the zipper on this corset. I'm just going to be using the loops. So I'll take out 2 inches from this pattern, 2 inches. Remember, I don't need this, I don't need the yoke. I'll take out 2 inches from this pattern, but first I would come down on the side by 1 inch, and then this is the part I'm going to connect to. I'll come down on the center front, center back rather, by 1 inch, and this is part I'm going to connect to the side. So this is my start line now. Then I'm going to take out 2 inches already because no zipper allowance on this. So this is what I'm taking out from the back, 2 inches. I'll just roll a line. Okay, so this is now what I'm going to be working with. So even though I'm taking out 2 inches, I'm still going to start my measurement from this center back, just so you know. From here I'll place 10.5, which is the measurement for this, plus 2 inches for sewing allowance. On the waist, 9.75, that's allowance 1, 2 inches for sewing allowance, and then I'm taking out 1.5 from the dart I'm taking out 1.5 inches on the waist for that allowance. I already said that before. And then here the hip is 12.5, which brings me here, plus 2 inches for sewing allowance. So remember, I've already placed my 1.5 on the waist, so I'm still going to take that, but let me just connect this. Okay, so I'm going to divide this side just the way I did the front, so I can place my darts on this line, because I already added. That's why the shape looks funny. But by the time I take out my darts now and close it up, you see that it will come back to be somewhere around here, so you have a curved back. Do you understand? So here is about 9.5. So 9.5 divided by 2 would be here. Here. So this is where I'm going to place my darts. Here. I'll take 1/2 inch on both sides. Half, and then I would connect it. Like so. So this is 1 inch. Then on this center back, this is now my center back, I've taken out 2 inches, because I want it open at the back with a modesty panel. On this start line now, I'll take out the other 1/2 inch. Remember, I said I'm putting my dart at the back, and I left 1.5 inches for the dart. So I've taken out 1 here, and I'm taking out my 1/2 on the center front. So this is it. So that is what I have here. So if I didn't place that dart here, you'll see that it won't have this shape. If I had just gone ahead to do this and then place it later, you would understand. But now this is what I hope you understand what I'm saying, actually, because I added this 1.5 already here to this measurement. That's why it looks like this. But by the time I take this out and close it up, the 1.5 will be reduced. Like, you will now see that the shape on the side would be like the body of a woman. I hope you understand. It will be actually curved. So now I'm just going to mark the part where, remember I said this is my start line here, but I'm taking out 2 inches because I'm using loops. I'm not using zipper on this corset, so I'm taking out this that I'm marking with red. Then I'm going to be doing this exact thing I did in front. On the side, I'll come up here by 2 inches, and then I'll connect it to the center. Like so, just like this, and then I would add 0.5 for the allowance. And here I'll just go ahead to connect it now. Okay, so it's that easy. Now we're done with all of this. So if you like this video, please like it by giving me a thumbs up, and whatever your concerns are about this pattern, you can just drop a comment and I'll respond to your questions or whatever it is you have to say. Just drop it in the comment section. And if you've not subscribed, please do so and hit that bell for notification whenever I post a video. So we don't need this, except of course you want to add a yoke to your Victorian corset. So this is what it looks like now. So what I've done is I've taken out 2.5 from the center front, 2 inches because I'm not adding a zipper and I'm just going to be using loops or eyelets, and then ½ inch just to cinch the center back. This is my regular dart, half inch on both sides, 1 inch for the sake of cinching because it's a Victorian corset and I want to add multiple darts. So 1 inch, and then that half I took out at the center front. So let's cut this out. So I'm done cutting out the darts. This is the back pattern. This is 1, 2, 3. And remember, we are going to cut it on fold. So I'm actually going to fold the fabric and place this on top. So every piece of this is going to be double. So for the back we have 6 pieces, and then for the front we also have 6 pieces. So I'm just going to label it 1B, which is back, B, B. I don't need to label the front because I already have these marks that show that it is the front because of the bust, the center. So now we're done, and this is what it looks like. So this is our back pattern and this is our front pattern here. Okay, so we're done with this. In our next video we'll be cutting it out on our fabric and sewing it. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you learned something. See you in my next video. Till then, bye.